faster internet speed over there.
And now we're live.
Yeah.
We are live with our friend Kyle Shimoda, a wealth advisor at
Hello.
InPac Wealth Solutions.
Aloha. Happy Aloha Friday.
Yes. Aloha. Kyle, thank you for joining us for our Friday Live. So we're live on Facebook and on YouTube. And if any of our viewers have questions, please type them in the comment section. We'll be going through some very exciting strategies in real estate investing here with Kyle.
Yeah. So, and just like in everything, local style, just like how when you were on our radio show, we like to, in the mainland, boom, they just get straight into business. But this ain't the mainland, right? I think they even, you get the sign when you go Molokai, it says, welcome to Molokai. And then on the back, it says, come but no stay. So, there's little bit of cultural differences by the way we do business here. And we like to, cater to that or speak to that. So real quick, Kyle, tell us about you. From Hawaii, not from Hawaii, what's your story?
From Hawaii, born on Oahu, raised on Kauai. Funny you mentioned Molokai. I was just there I think a couple of years ago, and when I landed, it was like a flashback to my past. Like Molokai today is like Kauai 40 years ago. So yeah, it's like a no traffic lights. Everyone knows everyone. Yeah. So I grew up on the island of Kauai. Went to school there, then moved to Oahu to go to college, and then start my career.
Yeah, interesting story we have on Molokai. It's called what? The Friendly Isle? Is Molokai the Friendly Isle?
Yes.
With the tagline, come but no stay. We were there and we had gotten there and our assistant hadn't gotten us a rental car. And on Molokai, they only have like 5 cars for rent.
I believe that.
And if you don't reserve them before you get on the island, then you're
in trouble.
Honolulu person over there with no car. So we got to meet 2 clients. So we get out of the airport. I see a lady dropping off on 15-passenger van with a bunch of tourists. I go up there. I go, hey, I'm Hawaiian, you Hawaiian. If we go back far enough in our family tree, we probably related. So, family helps family. We need to borrow somebody's car. Can you help us out? She pulls her keys out of her back pocket. We use her truck. No air conditioning, no power steering, but it worked. And we used her car. Do you remember her name, Adrienne?
I don't. That was a long time ago.
A couple years ago.
A very long time. It was like
we call her up and say, where we put the car? Oh, just take them to the airport, put them in the guest parking, give the keys to my cousin Kimo. He works at the blah, blah, blah counter. So
that is a perfect representation of Molokai right there.
So speaking of, we're going to call you the friendly financial advisor, Come and stay. So let's talk about
the creative, very creative, outside of the box, and doing business, I would say, with aloha.
And here's what we do know. Kyle, do you believe this, that one, is change inevitable?
Change is. That's the only thing constant in life.
And however, is growth, learning from change, is that optional? Because
that is optional. Yeah, growth or decay. You can choose one or two.
Change is inevitable, growth is optional. So I think that's where we're going to go today, is talk about growth, financial growth, and what ways we go can be optional. We're going to talk about options. But so growing up on Kauai, and then coming here to Oahu. So Oahu is where you're here to stay?
I am, yes. Yet my roots are still on Kauai. My parents are there. My grandma's there. I have a lot of clients. We have an office there as well. We have offices on all islands. Yet I'll go to Kauai most often, almost every other week. I haven't been there since March, since the shutdown. Yet on Oahu, married, 2 kids, and I like Oahu because this is like the big city to me. Growing up as a Kauai boy, right, very country. Like this was my New York, right, and this is fast paced, and so I love traveling and seeing other things. Yet the really big cities are just too big for me. I like the aloha spirit. I love the tight knit community, and so this is the place for me.
All right, so. Adrienne, what other questions you want to start off with, and then we'll get going with the show.
Well, I guess I just want to share how I got connected with Kyle. It was actually through his wife, Lori, and we actually had Lori on our radio show a few months back, and just had a great time getting to know her. And it was actually through some, personal development courses that we're actually both, revisiting or re-auditing. And, just her listening, to my story and my situation, she instantly knew, oh, you have to talk to my husband, Kyle. Like, this sounds exactly like he can help solve your problem. And, I hadn't heard of this, this strategy or anything, but after, I just want to say that after speaking with Kyle and him listening to my whole situation, I knew like he's going to be able to help me. And just so our viewers can understand, he helped me to save about $40,000 in taxes.
How much money?
$40,000 in taxes.
So
Yeah.
did you, so change was inevitable with your sale.
Yeah. I
But
mean, I
your
had to
goal,
sell, and
yeah,
I just thought that was my only option, with my particular situation. So yeah, I mean, that aloha spirit and that, the like working on myself to grow myself, and then it turned into something that really helped me and my family financially, through that relationship. So I just want to say, thank you to Lori, and then, to Kyle being the creative genius behind this, and helping me to do my 1031 exchange into the DST.
into the DST. Now, we just threw a whole bunch of buzzwords out there. People are like, huh? What is all this? Are we in the military with all these acronyms? So no,
Mm-hmm.
we're not in the military. So yeah, Kyle, anything you want to start off with before we dive into it?
Well, I just want to say that was a great story, Adrienne. And yeah, my wife comes home. She's like, "Oh, I met this person. She's a realtor, and I've been wanting to connect with more realtors." As I started adding this product and strategy to my practice, and so she said, "Yeah, you got to talk to this woman. I met her in this class, and I think she needs to hear about the Delaware Statutory Trust, or the DST, and that's kind of how we got connected. So yeah, it kind of worked out perfectly." And I think the timing was also very good for you when we connected. So yeah, it worked out perfect.
See, there's no accidents, right? There was no accident that I was in that class with your wife Lori, and she was my partner throughout with our exercises. So
Everything
very
happens.
grateful.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And just to
And
clarify, I told her, I'll watch the kids all weekend, so you go to the class, and yeah.
Yeah, let's give a big plug for PSI. What does that stand for, Adrienne?
the Personal Success Institute. And I think what Kyle, you have gone all the way through, right, with the men's leadership, and so has
Yeah.
Attilio.
Yeah.
I'm signed up for my women's leadership. The pandemic kind of got in the way of my attendance. But yeah, I really have been enjoying the trainings and that personal growth that PSI has offered myself, my family, and our team.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing here is like-minded individuals, right, on this live feed right now, that, success breeds success, and like-minded people come together and then they share information. So that's how we're able to learn. And Adrienne put it into use firsthand, and then talk with Kyle today about 1031 exchanges and DSTs. So, and then one last thing, Kyle, how did you get into this finance world? When you were in kindergarten and the teacher asked you, what you like to be when you grow up? You're like, I want to be in the finance world. Did you say that?
No, I think my answer was I wanted to be a ninja and a astronomer.
Okay. What color?
Yeah.
I wanted
Well,
to be
you're kind of like a financial ninja.
Maybe. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, but
And
you don't wear. Only mask you wear is when you go Foodland.
yeah. Oh, Costco is my favorite place.
Or Costco.
Yeah. So it's a quick story how I got involved is I went to college, business college, got a degree in marketing with a minor in finance. I also have a culinary arts certificate. Thought at one point I wanted to be a chef and restaurateur, until I realized how hard you have to work, and the hours you got to give up, and the limited pay you make, and not seeing your family. And I've always wanted to be a family man, so I wanted to find a career that gave me flexibility of time, so I can spend time with the family, and also potentially unlimited earning potential to be able to live and thrive in Hawaii. And I didn't know that finance was in my future, even in college. I thought I was going to go into a marketing career, become a marketing executive. And I run into a friend, probably at a bar or club, and she was a good friend of mine from college. She says, "Hey, Kyle, have you ever thought about retirement and saving for your future?" And I said, "Yeah, I have a Roth IRA I started a couple of years ago, yet the guy never calls me." So she says, "Well, I'm a financial advisor. Why don't we meet?" So we meet for coffee a few times at Starbucks, and again, I had some background in finance, so I was very interested in all these new strategies and techniques she was teaching me at 24 years old. And at that point, I graduated from college, still thinking about going and working in restaurants, yet thinking maybe I want to be an advisor. So I asked her, her name's Steph. "Hey, Steph, I'm just wondering, do you just drive around in a nice car and wear nice clothes and meet people at coffee shops and talk about money all day?" And she said, "Well, there's a lot more to it. However, that's kind of what a day might look like." And I said, I think I want to do that. So yeah, I was 24 years old, got into the industry, and been doing it ever since. So, but was that 15 years later?
All right. So instead of making chop salad, you're making this kind of salad now.
Well, I still do a lot of cooking. If you look at my Facebook and YouTube, there's a lot of cooking things on there.
Gotcha. Go ahead, Adrienne.
Oh.
So, okay, so then how, there's the financial planning and retirement, but this DST, the Delaware Statutory Trust, tell us a little bit about that and how did you come across that strategy? What was attractive to you?
Okay, so yeah, thanks. So I've been doing financial planning for probably at least the last 10 years as a big part of my practice is helping people figure out their goals and align it for the future, figuring out the path to get there. So it's in me to research and study and learn about all the tools and strategies out there. And about 2 years ago, ran into Troy Wada, a good friend of mine, and he's now the principal of the company I'm at, which is InPac Wealth Solutions. We're a small boutique firm. He, in one of our conversations, just as friends, and we're at almost competing organizations, right? Him at his firm and me, I'm at a different firm. He shares with me this tool he's using for his clients that have investment property, looking to do a 1031 exchange and wanting to avoid taxes and get some stability of income. And he shared it to me, and I was like, that's amazing. I can imagine there's hundreds or even thousands of people just in Hawaii that need to know about this. At the same time, I was working with a client of mine, and they were both doctors, and they were renting their home. They wanted to buy it. Their landlord, who was living on the mainland, didn't want to sell simply because he didn't want to pay taxes. Yet in talking to their landlord, he would have loved to have sold because he was managing it from North Carolina. He had only bought the property when he was here in Hawaii for the military. Yet now living in the mainland, he was struggling to manage the property, take care of it, right? He did like the income, yet the income was low in comparison to how much equity he had in there. So I told my clients who were renting that wanted to buy that property, I said, get me on the phone with your landlord. I want to share with him this new strategy I learned about. And I brought Troy on the line with the landlord, and he shared with him the idea, and it ended up working out. So my clients ended up purchasing the property. The landlord sold, and he's now my client as well. And he did a 1031 exchange into a Delaware statutory trust and avoided the taxes and has been receiving income ever since. And that's been 1.5 years now.
So again,
that's a great success story. So a 1031 exchange is a strategy that investors will use in order to defer the taxes. So you can exchange that investment property for something of like kind, right?
Well, let's go backwards a little bit. Let's flesh it out. Let's start at the beginning with the 1031 exchange. What is a 1031 exchange? Oh, by the way, all three of us are going to go and get through our disclaimers here. Not anybody on this live feed, or even if you're watching it later on, is providing any tax or legal advice. We highly recommend that if you hear something that sounds like tax or legal advice, that you seek the appropriate licensed professional. In fact, the other day I ran into this lady, and she was asking me a bunch of legal questions. And I said, those are great questions, but Mom, I highly recommend you seek an attorney. So even my mom was trying to ask me legal questions, and I had to refer her to an attorney. So any other disclaimers you have before we continue to move forward that you would like to mention, Kyle?
Yes, thank you. So yeah, I do not provide tax or legal advice. Also, we are about to talk about a Delaware statutory trust after we explain what a 1031 exchange is.
Yep.
And a Delaware statutory trust, we'll call it a DST, just so it's not a tongue twister for the rest of the day. That is for accredited investors only. And so to be an accredited investor, obviously talk to your tax professional, talk to your financial advisor, even talk to your realtor. Yet to be a accredited investor, you have to be making as an individual $200,000 or more for the last 2 years, or combined between you and a spouse, $300,000 per year for the past 2 years, or have $1 million of net worth, excluding your primary residence. And so you can imagine in Hawaii that target might be easy to make. That second one, at least, the net worth one, if you've owned at least one investment property.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Just because of our price points here, they're much higher than most areas in the United States. So, all right. So so this program, like Kyle said, you have to be considered an accredited investor in order to take advantage of it. So
yeah. So we'll go back to the beginning. 1031. We kind of give her all our own understandings of it. And again, ultimately, the definitive answer on what it is going to be through a tax professional, or I think they called exchange agents that you can hire that help guide you through the IRS tax code when doing one of these transactions. So
qualified intermediaries.
Yes, qualified intermediaries. So who wants to step up and say, what is a 1031 exchange?
I think Adrienne was starting it very well. So if you want to finish, it's great.
So yeah, so it's a code with the IRS tax law, right, that helps you to defer the taxes that you would pay on the gain that you receive on an investment property. So on your owner occupied property, you have a certain amount of waivable equity, right, that you're not going to be paying taxes on. When it turns into an investment property, then you're going to pay taxes on that gain. So this strategy allows you to defer those taxes, and instead of paying the taxes to the IRS, you can put that money into your next investment through the 1031 exchange.
And my favorite analogy is Monopoly. So when you get the investment property, you get the 2 small houses, and then maybe you get 1/3 one. Then you can trade the 3 small ones for the bigger one. And you just keep like Monopoly, is you keep trading up, and then when you get the bigger property, you collect more rent, more income. It's just like Monopoly. But
I haven't played Monopoly in a long time yet. That is a great example. Yet the one thing that Monopoly doesn't do is it doesn't tell you the tax impact if you just sold it cashed out, right?
Unless you pull a card that says, whatever, you got the card that out of that chest that says, oh, you're exempt. No, you got to pay taxes or you're exempt from the taxes. But
you got to exchange it for a like-kind property, right? Yeah. So most people think, oh, well, I've got to buy another condo or a bigger condo or a single-family house, or maybe commercial property. So that's, I think, where Kyle and his strategy comes in with the Delaware Statutory Trust, which I think is just genius.
Yeah.
So let's hand it on over to Kyle as far as explain to us what is a Delaware Statutory Trust.
Okay, well, so before Delaware Statutory Trust, and then I'll come back to the 1031 a little bit, so it all makes sense. So Delaware Statutory Trust, or DST, it permits fractional ownership where multiple investors can share into ownership in a single property or portfolio of properties of institutional quality, right? So when you think of exchanging like kind to like kind, it has to be investment property to investment property. This can be, as Adrienne mentioned, a condo, another single family home. It could be a multifamily unit. It could be student housing. It could be a retail center, land. It could be headquarters for a large corporate giant, right? All of those are considered exchangeable of like kind property in a 1031 exchange. Now, where a Delaware Statutory Trust, might be useful is because in these trusts, and you have fractional ownership, these trusts own these large institutional properties. So now as a quote unquote smaller investor, and again, you have to be an accredited investor, right? Coming in with anywhere from $100,000 of equity or hundreds of millions of dollars of equity, you can purchase into a trust that owns properties that are possibly worth 50 million to 200 million.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So examples of properties that are in Delaware Statutory Trust would be storage facilities. Verizon and AT&T's headquarters are sitting in Delaware Statutory Trust currently.
I think
right?
you also had mentioned Walmart too. Is another one that's in the Delaware Statutory Trust. My one that I purchased in was the storage facility.
Where's the storage unit located?
I don't even know. I can't.
Don't care is the answer.
I don't, just the money shows up in my account every month, and I'm just very happy about it.
Yes.
That people are storing their stuff.
Yeah. So for privacy, I won't share where it is, yet it's on the mainland. And that's one of the benefits potentially is, a lot of people want to ask them, are you diversified in your portfolio? Oh yeah, I've got bank accounts, I've got investments, and I've got property, multiple property. Great. Where's your property? They're all in Hawaii. Right. I'm like, well, is that diversification? Yeah, they're in different towns, in different locations. However, they're all in the same state, right? They're all in the same island even, right? And so that's not that much diversification, because if something happens to the state of Hawaii, right, it could affect their entire real estate portfolio. So diversifying looks more like multiple states, right? It could be multiple asset classes, right? It could be a storage facility in Arizona, then it could be a student housing in Auburn, right? And then it could be a headquarters of a large institutional corporate giant like ESPN in another state. So then you get to diversify your portfolio even further, your real estate portfolio even further.
So instead of buying like Apple stock, you would just buy the mall that the Apple Store is in.
Potentially, yeah, potentially.
Yeah. So one of the things
I know as a, you're regulated as far as with your licensing. So I'm going to go ahead and just share, because I know people are wondering, well, what kind of return can I expect? Right. So for me, I exchange, it was $100,000 in, and I get about $500 every month. So I'm very happy with that.
That's
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like, what would you have to do to net $500? And you don't have to do anything. What you do is you go like this. You just wake up in the morning. That's what you got to do to net $500 a month, and you go, woo! You look at your online banking app. So
yeah, I think that's one of the keys is the fact that there's no management, and the net, obviously, working with your real estate professional, working with your tax professional, even your financial professional, is, this property that I own right now, this investment property, is what's the net income after all expenses, or the net cap rate. If I were to 1031 exchange this property elsewhere or invest that money elsewhere, is could I get a higher return with less work? Right.
Yeah.
So,
and with less risk.
Well,
potentially different risk. Yeah.
I give you guys an example. So I own a condo in Wahiawa. So we like these real life examples because then people can relate to them. Not one condo in like Texas or anything, but in Wahiawa on Eho Street. And I think the
write this down. Okay.
Yeah, write it down. The address is and don't bother my tenant. He's good with paying his rent. So I've owned that thing for about 10 years, and I think I owe about, I think I owe like 60 grand on it, and it's probably worth 250,000. So I got quite a bit of equity in there. But the difference between my maintenance fee and the small mortgage that I have on it, I don't think I'm getting $500 positive cash flow on that. And I have the constant. Let's talk about the 3 T's. We got Mr. T.
Terrible T's, yeah.
Terrible T.
You know what? Mr. T should come on right now and go, Hey, fools, let me tell you about the T's. So,
Terrible teas.
in your best Mr. T
My
voice,
mascot.
yeah, what are the, so I have these terrible T's, which are, go ahead, Kyle.
Well, there's a lot more. There's the tenants, the toilets, the trash. We've heard of TROs. We've heard of
Oh.
tenants having TROs. Yeah. So those are the T's we like to avoid, yet sometimes come with owning property.
In
Yeah.
fact, I spent $500 on a plumbing repair because the sink was leaking, so they had to pull the sink out, replace the hardware, repair the damage, and it was like, I don't know, 400 something, $450. So
There goes your profits for that
there
month.
was
Until
Adrienne, are you getting any plumbing repair invoices
No.
for your DST?
No.
Any notifications of backed up toilets or any of that stuff?
No, just notifications in the mail about the deposits. That's
Now,
it.
we're
Only
talking-
notifications to get.
and by the way, instead of investing in a DST, by any chance, do you have one of these? Can you see my screen? It's called a rich uncle. Do you have a rich uncle?
No, I wish I did.
Yeah. So I was Googling Monopoly.
Actually, you know what? I do have a rich uncle, but
Okay.
he's not sharing with me.
Does he watch a lot of Netflix, eat a lot of meat, and not exercise too often by any chance?
You know what my rich uncle does? He invests in DSPs.
There you go.
That's
So
what my rich uncle does.
the point being is that most people are thinking they're going to have some wealthy relative or parents pass away, and that's their financial plan, and that's not a good plan to have. Is the point. Now, we've been blue skying this a lot, and people are like, what do you mean, Attilio? What does that mean, blue sky? It means like we're painting all the good stuff. There's risk, right? And can you kind of cover that as far as the risk that's involved and then tie that into why they have to be an accredited investor?
Okay, wait. So clarifying your question is, what are the risks in doing a Delaware statutory trust?
Yeah, it's not like guaranteed you're going to get this money or things won't go south. But what have you talk about the minimization of risk that you guys have done, where it's not like you're investing in other types of risky investments and yeah. So talk about what risks do people need to be aware of?
Similar risks that any investor that owns real estate needs to be aware of, right?
Yeah.
Is the possibility that you might not have rental income because it's not occupied.
Yeah.
That something could happen to the property, right? And also it could be location based, it could be management based, and that's why when we look into as a financial professional, and which is why these Delaware statutory trusts go through, it's a securitized investment, goes through the financial advisors, has to be approved by broker dealers. We do all of our due diligence before we offer it to potential accredited investors. So a lot of due diligence goes into it. So there is risks though, because these properties are physical properties, right?
Mhm.
How we look at it is, okay, based off of our research, what we know about the economy, what we know about what's going on, what is a possibility that maybe rents don't get paid, lease doesn't get paid, that there's going to be some occupancy issues, right? Ways to mitigate that is if you're looking at buying a multifamily unit that only has 4 units, right? If one person's out, then you're basically only 75% occupied, right? If in a Delaware statutory trust, you've got 350 units, right? If 20 people are out, it's not going to greatly affect the income, right?
Mhm.
Or the investment in there, right? So when we look at diversifying into asset classes, the Delaware Statutory Trust DST helps diversify into this type of asset class that has a different type of risk, still some risk involved. Yet depending on what you're looking at, if it's looking for stability of income, you may get less stability of income owning one single family home or a condo in Wahiawa.
And so here's what I do know for a fact. If my unit goes vacant, which it has, and I have two, I've got a condo near the University of Hawaii and one in Wahiawa. When they go vacant, my vacancy rate is 100%, and I'm absorbing that month after month. Where, like I said, I probably have much more stable income, much more diversity, and then I don't get the terrible T's. And then what's the good T's?
The good teas, and you can add to this as well. It's travel,
Yeah.
time with family, tennis,
Yeah.
all those great things. Yeah,
Bracelets that you buy with your profits.
tennis bracelets. Yeah.
So we're nearing the end of our fabulous time here with Kyle.
Yeah.
Who's talking to us about the Delaware Statutory Trust and how to use that with the 1031 exchange. So I know this is it's kind of a Miller Lite. We're just kind of touching on things. So we are planning on doing a full-on class with Kyle and all of our other, agents here in Hawaii and their accredited investors. So if any of our viewers want to sign up to get information about it, it's probably going to be in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So you can follow us there. So we do have a page on our website, teamlally.com/DST. So you can put your information in there and we will contact you about the class. So
yeah,
I will leave with that.
Okay.
And Kyle, did you have anything you wanted to mention before we wrap things up?
No, thanks for having me on. And yeah, if you saw there, that was our webpage, dreamplanlive.com. So yeah, dream with inspiration, plan with purpose, and live with intention.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, Kyle, thanks for being on our show. And by the way, Kyle is also a guest on our radio show, which will be broadcasting this Saturday on AM 830 KHVH. If you want to take a listen, it starts at 10:07 because there's 7 minutes of commercials. So come on, 10:07, and you can listen to Kyle at that point. So, but that's it. Stay tuned on our social media for that class that we're gonna have for. Did we say it was for realtors or everybody?
I would say for realtors and the accredited investors. So you know who you are. We talked about it. And if you're not sure, fill out the form. We'll help you out.
All right. So we're going to incorporate Kyle into our sign off. Adrienne, you're going to say be. I'll say safe. And then Kyle, you say and aloha.
Okay. Be
safe.